Well, I had a night last night, which is why this video is coming out a lot later than I had anticipated, but following the heels of yesterday's Carolina, Chicago, Colorado trade shenanigans, we have ourselves yet another trade to dive into on this lovely Saturday afternoon on January 25th. It's between the Rangers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, as the Lightning have acquired forward Ryder Korczak from the Rangers in exchange for forward Lucas Edmonds. And I think this is an interesting trade. In fact, a lot of fans are talking about this, saying every trade we've made with Tampa, they pulled our pants down. This is massive, Bolts Fanatic says. I can't tell if that's sarcasm or not, it probably is. This will backfire like most deals with Tampa do. Turns out we weren't ride or die. League changing, game changing. Can someone please explain what this trade is like? Let's dive into each of these players because I do think there is some intriguing conversations to have. It's a one-for-one trade, Edmonds for Korczak. Let's go over to the New York Rangers website to dive into their perspective here first and foremost. The Rangers are acquiring forward Lucas Edmonds. New York Rangers president and GM Chris Drury announced today the team has acquired Edmonds from the Lightning in exchange for Ryder Korczak. Edmonds, 23, has skated in 26 games for the Syracuse Crunch of the AHL, recording 5 points. In 3 seasons with Syracuse, the North Bay, Ontario native has collected 25 goals and 23 assists for 48 points in 120 games. During his first pro season in 22-23, he finished with 15 goals and 12 assists for 27 points in 49 games, leading all Syracuse Crunch rookies in points and tying for 5th in the team in goals. This is the interesting part. Prior to his pro debut, the 5'11", 178-pound forward played 1 season in the OHL with the Kingston Frontenacs, earning 113 points in 68 games. He ranked 3rd in the league in points and 1st in assists, and he also won the Jim Mahon Trophy as the OHL's top-scoring right wing. Edmonds was initially selected by the Lightning in the 3rd round, 86th overall in the 2022 NHL Entry Draft. And if we dive into Lucas Edmonds, you will see that exact part about his game stand out to you. 23 years old, 5'11", 179 winger, right-handed guy drafted by Tampa in the 2022 draft, 3rd round, 86th overall. And if you look at that exact season, 113 points in 68 games played for the Kingston Frontenacs, and he was a point per game for the team in the playoffs. He was a monster in this 2021-2022 season. It's why the Lightning took a flyer on this guy, despite the fact that he was an overage player. He was born January 27, 2001, making him eligible for the 2019, NHL Draft. He was a 3-year overager when he was selected by the Lightning in that 2022 NHL Draft, but it was for good reason when you consider this point production. In his draft-eligible season, he had himself 20 points in 37 Junior 20 Super Elite Karlskrona Hockey Club games, which isn't really significant, and as the years went on, he didn't really progress much. I mean, he was over a point per game in the Junior 20 League the next season for Vequa, which is great, but he was 19 years old, so that's definitely not ideal. Give it a season afterwards, or excuse me, he was already 18 during this season. Excuse me. At 19, he played for both the Allsvenskan and the Hockey Etienne, having this production over here, and then at his age 20 year, this is when he went over to the OHL. He dominated the league because, of course, he was 20, and then he was drafted by Tampa Bay before getting sent over to the Syracuse Crunch. This season, he hasn't really produced as much as he had in the past, so it seems like the Rangers are now taking a flyer on what was one of the top CHL point scorers in the past few years. Of course, though, he was an overager in this season. But going back over to the Tampa Bay Lightning is Ryder Korczak, a guy whose name is also pretty interesting. He's the brother of Cayden Korczak of the Vegas Golden Knights system. Ryder is 22 years old, 5'10", 176 right-handed center, drafted in the 2021 3rd round, 75th overall. This guy Also not necessarily a super high-profile name, but Ryder Korczak does have some interesting skills. Puck handling is his defining skill, using a combination of herky-jerky movement, deception, and pace to beat defenders. On the power play, his deception reaches another level, threatening shots to set up cross-crease feeds, and the shot's dangerous too. He changes the angles on his shots, and occasionally rifles a curl-and-drag wrister around a defender. This is a really interesting player who, back in the day of the 2021 NHL Draft days, he was seen as a really decent pickup. If you scroll down over to the rankings here, he was ranked by some as a second-round guy. McKean's have it at number 39, Elite Prospects at 69, Future Considerations at 65, so the fact that he went all the way in the 75th overall spot, it's actually interesting because you did have Bob McKenzie predicted properly. He said, yes, 75th overall prospect, and that's exactly where he went in the 2021 NHL Entry Draft. But Ryder Korczak in that season was at a point per game. He was also a point per game the previous year too, so he definitely displayed some of these skills. The next season he produced more points, and then the season after that he had even more. 69 points in 48 games is a very good point production metric. Last season with the Hartford Wolfpack, he had 20 points in 67 games played. Not the best, but of course, transitioning out of the WHL into the AHL is always going to have its challenges. This season, though, 11 points in 35 games played. So this seems like a really interesting scenery for scenery, change of scenery kind of deal where both of these players could use a little bit of a revival. They were both top CHL point producers, with Lucas Edmonds, of course, being the higher of the two, although he was older. This ultimately is a potential-based deal. A lot of fans are going to be looking forward to seeing what both of these guys can do longer term, mostly from the potentials they had shown. Of course, Edmonds and Ryder Korczak right now at 23 and 22 years old, it's not necessarily like they're showing off the best potential at this point, but if they can somehow find themselves in an NHL roster at some point in their careers, then I think this trade could be seen as a pretty big win. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about both of these guys. If you're a fan of either the Kingston Frontenacs or of the Moose Jaw Warriors, let me know your thoughts in the comments. How do you feel about both of these players as prospects? What are your thoughts on their development so far? What are your thoughts on how they could continue to progress? Do you see NHL futures out of Lucas Edmonds and or Ryder Korczak? I know it's been kind of a meme the past few years talking about how the Rangers are always getting fleeced by Tampa Bay in these deals. I mean, you think about it. What are some of the big ones over the past few years? Callahan, Marty St. Louis, JT Miller was in there, Ryan McDonough. There was another big one that I'm missing out on. I'm not really too sure. There have been a bunch of trades between the Rangers and the Tampa Bay Lightning, but I do kind of find amusement out of the responses here. Every trade we've ever made with Tampa, they've pulled our pants down. It doesn't necessarily seem like Ryder Korczak is a guy that many Rangers fans are losing their steam over. Lucas Edmonds was a really good player in the OHL, though, and I think that will always stand out to me as the season that defined his career. Not until he ends up doing something else, you know, finding himself into the NHL one day or getting a middle six, top six role with the Hartford Wolfpack in the AHL. There are always going to be people that defer to this season as that top year, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Either way, Rangers fans, Lightning fans, what are your thoughts on this trade? Scenery for scenery, change of scenery for change of scenery, potential for potential. Let me know in the comments what do you think. I hope you enjoyed this video. 99 and bye.